So that was my first pole position, only my second year in Grand Prix. Portugal was very good to be there. Important to have a clear start with no accidents and be clear on the first corner of any spray from the tires and in the wet conditions. The two Lotus who were there managed to be first and second. Was a clear start, no big dramas. And then was just the main thing, keep the concentration to get used with the new conditions of wet track that we didn't have for the whole weekend. So we were going to the race with a very slippery track, cars sliding everywhere, very hard to keep the cars under control. You often see cars just sliding around the place, purely lack of grip and too much power. That's the end of the straight, where you come about 200 miles an hour, go to a right-hand corner in third gear, so it's a big brake point and a big corner. That's the end of the first lap. That is the incident between Patrese and Johansson, where Patrese, trying to take Johansson, the braking, loses a bit of control and touched the back of Johansson, both spun away. Then as we see Prost putting the pressure over De Angelis for the second place. We see now a big accident with Rosberg, who spun at the entry of the main straight line. It was a dangerous position. Meanwhile, Prost was keeping the pressure on Helio. But Keke Rosberg's car was in a very dangerous position where the marshals took about 3 laps to put it away, but eventually it was all right. The main thing for me on the race was to keep the concentration as much as I could, to not allow any mistakes under those tremendous difficult conditions. The water sometimes was so much that you can see there again, a car just spins in a straight line, which is more about, have a crash there, and not a nice land afterwards. And so the main thing was to keep concentration. And we see Prost now losing the car purely in the straight line with aquaplaning and a lot of spin there, but only the car was slightly damaged. But that was the end of his race anyway. Then Helio had a big pressure from Alboreto for the second place still. Helio has the visor a bit open there, as you can see, to try probably improve the visibility. And Alboreto eventually comes through Helio at the end of the straight line. That you can see now. So Alboreto was through to second place and starting to put some pressure on me. But Helio at that moment had a bad visibility there, and 2 corners later locked one of the front wheels, the outside one now, I think, and lost the car a bit, but did quite well. I think he managed quite well to keep the car going and not crashing. Still, even if I had a good, comfortable lead, it was difficult to keep the concentration, to keep the car under control right through the end. There I come to the checkered flag. Hard to believe. It was my first win and it was fantastic. After 2 hours, it was a tremendous feeling. And we see Manson now coming very strong and goes off there behind me. It was an exciting end of the Portugal Grand Prix. There on the rostrum, trying to make the best of it with the champagne over Peter Ward there on the left, my team manager, Alboreto as well, and then Tambay. And the champagne for sure had a special taste that day. It was a marvelous day.